I'm a little bored today, so rather than repair something, I'm going to modify something. That little mini system Sony that I pulled the motor out of to fix the Yamaha, well, today I'm going to make that Bluetooth compatible. So it'll be AM, FM, MP3 CD, and Bluetooth. Let's get started. So you guys remember this little piece of junk, right? That I cannibalized to take the motor out of it to fix that Yamaha. And I thought, well, this works as a radio, and it works as a CD player, which will play MP3 CDs. Why not give it Bluetooth capability? So that's what I'm going to do. I have this little Bluetooth module here. This is an XY-BT Mini. Today, this one's going to go inside this unit so that this unit can be functional as a radio, CD player, and a Bluetooth receiver, because hey, nobody uses cassettes anymore. And you know what? I might even hook it up so that by pressing the play button on cassette, that'll turn on power to the Bluetooth. Excellent idea. What do you think? Well, first I have to open the unit up again. A couple screws in either side and in the back. And then the cabinet will lift off. And then it's just a matter of identifying which wires I need to use. I'm going to use the wires that operated the motor on the old one to turn the power on and off for the Bluetooth receiver. I just have to find a place to take the signal from the Bluetooth unit, and I'm thinking after the head preamp is probably a pretty good place to do that. So let's just unplug the power again from the power supply. And here's what we have. We have a couple white wires here and a black wire. These two white wires were joined together. I'm assuming that what they do is they supply power when the switch is pressed on the deck to turn on the power. So we're going to reconnect those two white wires together. And we'll check them and make sure that it's positive. It should be. And that should supply the positive voltage for this little Bluetooth board. And I think it's only 9 volts, so that shouldn't be a problem powering up this little Bluetooth unit. So let's just get the wires prepped here and we'll test it and make sure that it is what I think it is. I see that little Bluetooth board, I can just stick it on the inside of the cabinet with a piece of double-sided tape, and it will, or just hang anywhere in here for that matter. But this unit actually has an auxiliary audio in on the front. Okay, as I thought, there's no voltage on here whatsoever until I press a button. If I press a button, doesn't matter which one, as long as it's one of the ones that would normally turn on the motor, it's going to give me 9.2 volts. So that is where I will connect the power for the Bluetooth receiver. Black wire going to the negative terminal on the little board here. And the white wire going to the positive. To the Bluetooth board for power. There. Problem 1 solved. Now to find a suitable place to tap the signal in and bypass the preamp. I want to use the original head wire because it's shielded, so let's just pull the head wire out. The head wire to the output of the Bluetooth board. I've got left ground and right out of this, so if I play my cards right, I should be able to strip enough insulation off of what remains here and just use these wires as they are. If I can get just a little bit more of this heat shrink tubing taken back a bit. it's getting a bit warm. That's okay. I can handle the heat. So I'll reconnect power. And if I turn it on, I got my standby light. I don't think anything happens unless I actually turn the unit on. So I have to physically turn it on. The volume is set to minimum now. Audio in, tape, CD, tuner. So select. Well, I guess I could actually hook this up to the audio in. That might make more sense rather than do it off the tape. Well, it appears that this Bluetooth board is no good. Even when I try to power it up with a separate power supply, I'm not getting any power. So this board must have got damaged just sitting around. It's been lying around for a while. I haven't used it in a long time. And I don't seem to see any power on this thing now, so there may be a problem. I have to check the board out and see why it's not powering up. Well, I just discovered something on this board. This black wire that you would assume is ground is not ground. This wire is positive, and when I measure between the two wires, I have about 9 volts, which is fine for this motor, or this little Bluetooth board. It's rated for up to 9 volts. But if I measure between the black wire and the ground, I have 5 volts. So basically, I just put a short. You see, the ground for the audio has a potential difference of 5 volts to this black wire. It's 5 volts from the white wire to here. So I don't know whether it's burned something up on this board or not, but let me investigate. I may have to dig up another board. But one thing for sure, I won't need to use the ground wire. I'll just have to use the internal grounding of the circuit for the ground, because this one here is definitely not the same potential as that. That's the first for me. I haven't seen that before, but yeah, the ground wire here. So when is ground not ground? Well, in this case, it's not ground on this machine, that's for sure. It's a separate potential. There's obviously a 5 volt regulator to regulate for the ICs on here, and the motor was connected directly across the power supply. This isn't the first time I've seen this happen, where they've used a plus and a negative voltage to drive the motor voltage, so they can use 2 low voltage supply for the higher voltage for the motor. It's a split supply, probably a +5 and -5, and then they took the motor across both rails. That's likely what they've done. So we're back to the drawing board to get this thing going. A little bit more involved than it seemed at the beginning. Well, I think I cooked this board due to the ground potential difference that I wasn't aware was there, but then who would be aware that it would be there? Who would think that they would have 2 different grounds? So this board I think is toast. So I've got this other little board here. This is the one that's got a mono amplifier on it. So I don't need the mono amplifier. I want to disconnect the mono amplifier from it. I was thinking it might just simplify my life a bit if I just took it to the auxiliary input. So I'm just going to remove the circuit board here a bit so that I can get at the jack. Well, I can get at it right here, and I can solder my Bluetooth board right into the auxiliary input. And then I don't have to even worry about bypassing the preamp on this thing, because the original idea was you push the play button and it would switch over the input, but you have to switch it manually anyway, so I might as well just do it through the auxiliary input. It's easy to get at. It's right here. Terminals are right there. Just have to release a couple of clips on the board. There is the jack, left, right, and ground. I can just stick the wires directly to it, and that'll eliminate having to deal with disconnecting and bypassing the preamp. Because of course the preamp's going to have all the equalization for tape and everything on it, right? So auxiliary will be ready to go. Awkward part is to try to get the board in position. There we go. Now I can do this. I guess I should flow some new solder on here. This is lead-free crap. Okay, I'm now on to the auxiliary input. I'll reconnect my power here to my, this is my unregulated 18 volts. See whether it'll work. A little more work than I had planned when I originally started on this project this morning. Okay, we'll put this on audio in. And looks like my Bluetooth board is connected. Let's see if I can play some music through here. I don't hear any music playing. Should be playing through the Bluetooth board. I got sound coming out of the amplifier on here, so I know the Bluetooth board is functional. Is this not an input? Or is this not an output? Was that an input that I tapped into? That's possible that this was not an output. This might be an input, so I may have to probe and find where the actual audio output is. I just assumed that this jack on here was an output, but maybe it's an input. That makes sense. So let's just see where the audio is. There's got to be audio on here somewhere. I'm just going to get my scope and look for audio that's going to the, I think I found it too. I've got audio on this capacitor here, and looks like I got audio on that one too, so those must be the two inputs. Yeah, those are the ones. Those are the coupling caps right there. And the other one there. So audio, these are the caps that go into the amplifier board. I could probably remove them and it would just take power off the amp board, but it really is not a big deal because there's no load on here, so it's not going to be doing anything. Pin right there. That's ground. Okay, let's try it now. See if I get any sound on my audio input. I got music. So I disconnected the built-in amplifier because we don't need this mono amplifier, and it was also hooked up so there was only a mono output. So I've got it to the stereo outputs. I've got sound coming through the auxiliary input now on this unit. Actually, it's sounding pretty good. Can't play this obviously, but I've now repurposed an old Bluetooth board that I was never going to use because it was a mono board for one thing, and I'm basically just using this portion of it. I'm not using the whole rest of this. It would have been nice if I hadn't blown up this one, but hey, I didn't realize that we had to split ground on this unit itself, and that's what happened. Okay, now I just put the unit back together. I can just tuck this board in behind here. I'm just going to attach it down with some tape to the inside of the chassis. We'll put the unit back together, and I'll get some other speakers on here, and we'll take a listen to how it sounds. So this can go in here just like this. Lots of room in here to attach this unit, and it shouldn't be any problem as far as the Bluetooth antenna goes. It is separate from from everything else. So yeah, I'll just stick it down on the inside like that with some double-sided tape, and throw it together, and we'll hook up some other little speakers and see how it works. Some double-sided tape onto the back of the circuit board here. Peel the backing off and stick it down to top of some other components. There. That'll hold it. It's out of the way. Wiring's out of the way. We'll give it one test before I put it together. There it plays. Sounding good, you know, for a small system. There we go. Now I got a CD player with a radio and a Bluetooth input hooked up to the audio input on here. The audio in will still function, but it'll parallel with the Bluetooth input. But again, with Bluetooth input, there's not really much need for the audio input. Anyway, let's get it together. So here it is playing with my Bluetooth. We'll switch it over to CD. It's an MP3 CD, so there's lots of tracks on here. Okay, so it's working. It's got MP3 capability now. If I find another, I know I've got some more of these boards around. I've got about a half a dozen of these little boards around. If I find another one, I'm going to change it, because the downside to the board that I put in is it does phone calls as well as plays music, and that is not really wanted because I don't have a microphone on it. It's one that's designed to work as a speakerphone, and you build it into a external speaker and put a microphone on it, which of course I don't have. But if I find another one of these, I'll just swap it out. Simple task, you know. But anyway, thanks for watching. To say, the CMT-EH10 lives as a CD player and now as a Bluetooth receiver. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. We'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.